So I watched Adventures with Purpose this evening. I didn't get to see the live, unfortunately, but uh, I'm really sad that it didn't turn out like I wished it did. They got everybody to donate so that they could take an emergency trip and get the gang all together so that they could do it in a hurry to be away from their families only just so many days because they've been on the road so much this year. And they did it on a hunch because they saw something they'd missed. And, you know, there was no promises that they'd find this girl in Texas, you know, or not. But, you know, Jared may look like a flop at this point because it didn't come out like he had planned, but you know, it's really wrenching because I have a lot of feeling for all these vlogs and stuff that they do on all these trips, and you know, a lot of them have just made me cry and just heartbreaking things. And these guys are really lucky to have the talent that they have, that they've taken the time in such a short period of time to be so good at, and by far exceeding a lot of the, you know, law enforcement authorities in that. And only because, you know, they're pro divers for one, and then, you know, seeking better equipment and doing really well with it, brand new equipment. And a lot of these, you know, departments can't afford all those allotments and things, and you know, they can only put in so much time on each job, and where these guys are just totally devoted to what they do, and they're really quick, you know, removing cars and people and stuff, and they've really got a knack to it, and they really love what they do. It's a horrible, stressful job, you know. I could see that right off the top. Going into a sadness atmosphere, but yet they make it all better in the end. And that's wonderful. Do something kind for a stranger. That's one of my number one things, and I say it in like every vlog that I do on my channel. But you know, seeing tonight, even though they didn't find that lady, they had the two little girls on there on the live vlog tonight, and I saw the rerun, but those girls are so precious, and all they want to do is find out what happened to their mother. I mean, is she still alive? You know, did she just absolutely run away in total fear? I've been in some pretty bad situations with a couple men in my life. My last divorce was really frightening. But you know, a lot of things are possible. The thing is that, you know, they went at such a terrible time of the year. It's been so cold in Texas just this past week, and I can imagine what the water was like. Oh, but, you know, my feelings are that I could feel the pain myself. If I had to see that on sonar and it would be like we missed it, I don't think I could sleep. If I was Jared or any of those other guys, I don't think I could sleep unless I went back absolutely right away, right now, just to get it out of my head, to make sure whether it was or not, because it was such an impact, you know, to see that. So I could really feel what Jared was feeling for sure. He wouldn't have been able to sleep if they had waited months to go back. I'm telling you. That would be really hard to live with every morning, getting up going, God, this is terrible. I know that could be her. You know, it would just drive you nuts. So really, honestly, I'm glad that they went back right away and they could get everybody together to help, especially, and that water's just got to be frigid cold, and it really need to have more than one guy there and all that. It was a costly trip, but you know, the people donated to make it happen, so that was just fabulous. I hated to see them not just get on the road and go, because Texas is not that far from California and Oregon. But for them, in order to spend, you know, 2 or 3 days, instead of like one day and do a turnaround, one day going in, dive, and then the next day drive back, you know, and it's pretty costly, feels pretty high right now, too, but, I'm going to tell you, I'm glad they did what they did. I hate they had to go in the cold, nasty water. It's just not the time to be doing that. But I'm just glad they did it. It makes me feel better, and I have a complete and total understanding after this evening's vlog. I don't know what you think. You can comment below, but try to be nice, okay? Because these guys are really good people. They're doing something they love, and they're bringing a lot of smiles on people's faces. They're really helping with law enforcement to get a job done, and educate them a little bit on the way. I think they'd be great to be training law enforcement in this type of stuff. I mean, they're pulling people out of the air from all over the states to do searches and everything. They're trying to get people together, and so that, you know, these things can be taken care of and solved and finished. Bring answers to the families. So, you know, I'm glad they did what they did. Those 2 little girls, it was so heartbreaking. They just really want to know what happened to their mother. She's just gone. And it wasn't that long ago. That's what's so amazing. And the neatest part of all is they really, even though they didn't find her in Texas, the 2 girls were so grateful that there was another effort put forth by all those guys with the AWP. And I can see where they're coming from too. I just think that it's really wonderful for them to step out in emergency, go to a secret place and not tell anybody anything, and go do what they've got to do, and also take that personal risk, because that's kind of scary to get involved in investigations. I know my father was involved in the Natalie Wood investigation. I can tell you a lot about that. And it was very scary for him. He was directly involved in that, and he was actually there that night that happened, on top of it. So I just want to say that, you know, thank you to the guys at AWP. I can't wait to meet you guys in person, and I'm sure our roads will cross paths very soon, and so I can tell you thank you myself, because you guys are wonderful. You just really, it just doesn't get any better than that. You know, they say, do what you love and the money will follow. And these guys are really doing what they love. They really are. And the people in the audience, I mean, they're just so wonderful. Helping them out, you know, throwing donations, throwing the tips. It's just, you know, that stuff's not cheap. To buy diving equipment, to have diving equipment break on you, the fuel to run an RV. Are you kidding? That sucker get about 4 miles to the gallon. You know, the cost of being on the road. I know I've worked on the road for many years, and it's just not like being at home. You know, when you forget your socks, or and you gotta go buy more, or, you know, you run out of clothes and you don't have time to do laundry, so you have to buy more clothes. I've done that too, because the money was more important than sitting around washing clothes. Every hour counts. It's just very costly on the road, you know, eating on the road, even if it's snacking and not cooking something, it's money. You know, it's just, it's amazing what they're doing, and they're even trying to teach people along the way. They accept, local divers to come out and work with them and stuff, and it's just wonderful all the way around. They've done so much. They've just done so much in a short amount of time. But honestly, I don't think this trip was a total flop, because I thought, God, if they don't find her, he's not going to be looking very good. But it wasn't all that. Those girls were so appreciative of another search being done, just to make sure, and they did like 3 miles of area. And I mean, if you're diving, that's a lot of area. If you're driving it, it's another story. If you're walking it, it's another story. But to be diving and searching, that's amazing. That's a lot of area to cover in a short amount of time. And so now they're sure that area doesn't have her in it, or the car. The only other thing is that, there was a show on TV some years ago that really bothered me. And it was some documentary thing about, how many women are buried along the expressways in Texas. And I was like, oh, geez. So that's one reason why when I've worked there, I just pass through and hit places and go. I don't stay. I recently was transferred to Texas to work, and the owner wanted me to stay after just a few days, and was trying to convince me to stay with my daughter. And he had, a townhouse all ready for us, for free, the whole deal. Even offered to move us up there, and I was hesitant because I didn't want my daughter to be that far from her dad because of his health. And sure, I could fly her back and forth because we were making bank, but I just didn't want to do that at that time. And two, because that documentary I saw, I've got some wonderful, great friends to this day in Texas. I wouldn't trade them for nothing in the world. But I just don't know about, moving there as a female, a single female, or just like my daughter and I moving there. Because I saw that documentary. It just frightens the devil out of me. But, I'm glad they did the trip. I feel better about it. I can relate to where the guys are coming from, where the audience was coming from to make it happen, and the two girls, how grateful they really truly were about, this accomplishment of searching that area that they got to search. Although they'll have to go back again, and they might have to go back another time and another time, they want to find these two girls' mom. They just really want to get that done. And I think that's wonderful. I really do. I just hope it's not as late as September. Oh my gosh. Jared was talking about doing it maybe September, and it's like, now you're going into the winter again. It's just a wrong time to go. It gets really cold in Texas. When we were out there for a month for work, that weather was so nasty. At one point, it was baking hot. And then next point, it was freezing cold and raining and just about ready to snow. That weather was foul. So, the cold is wretched out there. God, it's absolutely horrible. But, I'm glad they did it. I really am. I'm glad they made the second emergency trip. So, whether you like it or not, you just have to think about it from all ends. There's one side theory and another side theory, and then the story in between. And I've tried to look at it all three of those aspects, and I've really come down to the conclusion it wasn't a total fail. And that they did get, you know, a lot accomplished on this second trip. It was just unfortunate they didn't find her, but it may take 2 more trips, but I do hope they find her on the 3rd round. I really do. I have a good feeling about that. And that way they can get some more answers. But if you guys don't know who these guys are, it's Adventures with Purpose. And they're based out of Oregon and California, and then a couple other people that help them, like Brock, The Rock, and Chaos Divers. Chaos is a character. I really like Brock, though. Brock is former military, and he's just trying to find something to do since he's left the military, because, you know, he misses it, but he really likes diving, and he's really falling into this searching thing for people. So I think it's really good for him mentally. It really gives him a purpose. I think he really, really enjoys it. And I would love to see him work with AWP more. But these guys have just done such a great job. They're on YouTube, and the channel is Adventures with Purpose. And then the other guys have their own channels. Brock, The Rock, has his channel. He's just building it now. Sam the Adventure Man, he has a great channel. And then Chaos Divers, he's kind of a character. He's nicknamed his Chaos because every time he does something, it's a problem. It's kind of like Dennis the Menace. And he's really a good guy. He's got a good heart. He's a little dippy at times, but he's kind of like a little kid. It's just hard to imagine he's a grown person because he's funny like a little kid. But they all mean well. They all have wonderful hearts, and they all really try to do something wonderful for the people. And, you know, they're not paid to go on these trips. Like, they don't tell the people, "Okay, we're going to charge you this much, da-da-da." They don't do any of that. They just go do it. And they've been getting more and more subscribers and people to donate, and are helping them from all over the world. Really, it's wonderful. It's just a cool operation altogether. Now, the kid that does the editing for Adventures with Purpose for Jared, he's like 18 or 19, Dan the man. But Dan is incredible with this editing thing. I mean, this stuff's like movie perfect. And I'd love to see him go to school for this, because he seems to have quite an interest in it. And he's very young. He's really making an impression on life right now. He's a very impressive young man. And I think he enjoys what he's doing, and I think he should follow his heart there. He's also learning how to dive now, too, which is interesting. But these guys are just great. You've got to see the channel Adventures with Purpose. Jared Lysick. He has some other channels on other entities, but I think the YouTube is the best one that you need to watch. And subscribe to him, because he gets paid by YouTube by, you know, all his subs, by how many minutes are watched, and especially on the live streams. And it takes YouTube a while to pay them for that. It comes like a month or two later, and then YouTube takes their cut out of all the donations, unless you do it by PayPal or something. Then, you know, PayPal of course takes their cut, but it's not as bad as YouTube. I think YouTube gets like 30% of every super chat on a live. But they're just really neat. So if you missed it this evening on the trip to Texas to look, I believe her name was Rosemary, for the 2 girls' mommy that disappeared, and she was in that kind of a rough relationship. And they're just trying to find answers to what happened to her in the car. So I just thought I'd tell you my 2 cents, you know, from the peanut gallery over here. So do check them out. They're super neat. And if they're, you know, in your area, check that out. They have a vlog. Jared did a really good vlog They pulled like almost 20 cars out or something recently in one place. Cleaning up the world, okay? Cleaning up the world. I mean, you know, we swim in these places and don't even know that there's dead bodies down there and cars leaking battery acid and fuel and whatever. And this is terrible. People are eating fish out of places like that. The chemicals are very bad. I had a friend of mine who died of cancer years ago from the chemicals out of Pickwick Dam, from the paper mill dumping into the dam, and they're probably still doing it today. And the guy wasn't but like 30 and left a family behind, a wife and kids. And most of it was because he was out fishing on that dam, and they're eating that fish. I'm telling you. So, anyway, I hope you have a great evening, and as always, do something kind for a stranger. Love everybody. And too much of a good thing is wonderful. We'll take so much of that. All right. You have a really great one. Love to you. Talk to you later.